Mr. Adam Savage is with us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to say, if you've tuned into the Discovery Channel, you may well be familiar with his programme Mythbusters. If you haven't, why the hell not? Give it a chance. It's a great show. Adam, it's great to have you here. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
I've been watching the show for a while because my kids discovered it and they loved it. And, you know, especially my little boy in particular got obsessed, and so did my 12-year-old. That age group, they seem to love seeing what you're doing there. Have you found that? Do you have a big following with the young there?
Absolutely. In fact, so much so that we get emails from science teachers all over the world saying that Wednesday mornings in the United States after the show, Thursday mornings after the show airs Wednesday nights, is their favorite day to teach science class, because the kids come in having watched the show.
They come in buzzing. But not the kind of things necessarily you'd see in the classroom on your programme.
Exactly. Well, no, we go a little bit farther than any science teacher would go, and I think they don't allow explosives in the classrooms anymore.
Silly. I've got no idea why they would have such a ridiculous rule. We're not campaigning for explosives in the classroom just yet.
No.
We may well do after the news. Who knows? Adam, what's your favourite myth that you've busted on the show? Do you have one particular favourite?
I do, actually. A couple of years ago, Jamie and I decided to take on a lead balloon. Can you actually make a balloon out of lead? And we managed to find a company in Germany that ground us lead into 0.0007 inches thick.
I like the way you said that. It sounded like there was the beginning of a song. We should sample that and sell that to Eminem that little bit. He'll put that in a song. So that's about as small a degree as you could possibly do.
It was like wet toilet paper handling it.
But the integrity, it stayed solid. It stayed together.
We scotch taped it together and made a 14-foot diameter balloon. Wow. Filled full of helium out of 28 pounds of lead, about 15 kilos.
And it floated?
It floated beautifully.
So you see, so that there you go. There's a myth busted right there. You can actually make a lead balloon. The second question, why? Why would you want to make a lead balloon apart from in Mythbusters?
That's a great question. Obviously, no one ever needs to know. It's the worst material to make a balloon out of. But for us, it's an intersection for demonstrating problem solving, which is really what the show's about.
That's what it's all about. Adam Savage is with us, ladies and gentlemen. He is one of the main men on the Mythbusters TV shows on the Discovery Channel. I didn't realise you'd been doing it for quite as long as you have. When did you start the show, Adam?
We shot the first pilots in the summer of 2002, so it's over 7 years we've been making.
So it's something of an institution now, I guess, in the science community and on television as well over there.
Yeah, we get a tremendous amount of support from the scientific community. It's really lovely. We've been consulted and congratulated by everyone from the NASA to the Sandia Labs to CERN, I mean, all over the world.
All the big guys. Presumably that's if you're doing stuff which is more in their territory. But when you do something, for example, like the swimming in treacle, I imagine that's not when NASA's on the phone saying, well done.
Actually, no, that's not true. Swimming in syrup is an episode I've wanted to do for a long time.
So it's syrup. We call it treacle, but syrup is what you call it over there.
We call it syrup, yeah. The myth is that you can swim as fast in syrup as in water, because even though it slows you down from your forward momentum, you get more push off the thicker material. Ah. And we tested this by filling a 75-foot-long trough full of, I think, 8,000 gallons of 3 different grades of treacle.
Wow! So what you did it separately, 3 different experiments with a thinner grade and then a thicker, more sticky treacle.
Yes, and then a middle Goldilocks grade.
Hang on a second, let's just enjoy the
Goldilocks grade.
I love syrup. Don't you love syrup? Syrup on a bit of bread? That's a good thing.
It is very strange to swim in it with your whole body.
Did you drink any of it afterwards? Or before, probably?
The stuff we used to thicken the water was called Guar Gum, and it's a food thickener. It's also used to make your shampoo pour the way it does. And it's totally tasteless without any flavoring. So it's an edible product, but it's not particularly, has no taste at all.
Not one you'd seek out. And presumably it doesn't have any calories, any protein in it?
No, nothing.
Okay. So how did the swimming go? Was it a regular swimmer you put in there? Because I haven't seen that episode.
Okay, so we tried super thick syrup, and we weren't able to swim as fast. We actually went past the threshold. It turns out that there's a kind of a bandwidth. But we went in stuff that's about the same as 60-weight motor oil, or a kind of a light maple syrup.
So still quite kind of glucosey, still quite kind of like thick and clingy.
Our goal was something that was light, but still anyone would put their hand in it and call it syrup or treacle.
That's fair enough.
And we successfully proved that you can, in fact, swim just as fast in that as you can in water.
So it does actually, and did it slow down the swimmers and then give them the extra push, or they just found that they could get through it through
We
strength?
just found that the timings that we did were exactly the same as in water as in syrup. We kept on had one pool of just plain water, and we kept on comparing our results to that.
And who did you have swimming? This was an accomplished swimmer?
Well, Jamie and I both swam. We wore those swimsuits, which is kind of like stuffing a sausage into a balloon.
These are the speed suits they wear, yeah.
Yeah, and then we got this wonderful gold medalist, Nathan Adrian, who's about, I think, 87 feet tall and is about 60 feet wide, and he was magnificent to watch. He didn't actually breathe the whole 75 feet. It's too short for him to raise his head above the water.
So they just go in and... But when they're swimming like that, they normally have guidelines on the floor, don't they, the Olympic guys?
And that turned out to be one of the interesting problems at the end of the episode. We thought we'd bring him in for consistency, but he has this... They swim along this black line.
They have the head right down, don't they? Yeah.
They don't do anything, and without the reference of the black line in the syrup, you can't see through the syrup. It's milky. His timings were totally inconsistent, and it turned out that me, who had no preconceptions about swimming a certain way, was actually far more consistent and was a better test subject.
So in syrup, you can beat an Olympic swimmer?
No, actually, he was still faster than me. He just wasn't as
Even though he was bumping into the wall. Can I ask you a question there, Adam? Because I know Jamie, who you work with on the show, he has a moustache, doesn't he?
Yes.
And you have the full beard.
Exactly.
Does that slow you down when swimming in treacle? I would have thought there's a drag for the hair.
The microdynamics of swimming in treacle and facial hair, we haven't gone into it.
Well, that's a new one for you. It's a very specific request that I'm giving you, sending your way.
We're going to tackle it as soon as we get back.
The ones I think I enjoy the most, and I know the kids do as well, is when you take something which is a myth that we've seen either in popular fiction, on TV, or in a movie, and you explore that. Things like, and I was telling Andy about it, the one where in movies we've seen it any number of times where someone's on the run or they're trying to get, and they shoot the lock off a door.
Yeah.
And it looks about as simple to do as you can imagine. It doesn't turn out to be the case in reality, does it?
No. Like a lot of things in the movies, it's far more difficult to figure out where to shoot. Also, to protect yourself from possible ricochets, and even if you know where to shoot, it's not a guarantee. We're actually just about to do one when I get back to the States. Spy car does the holy trio of spy car resistance techniques: the smoke screen, the tacks, and the oil slick that you let out of the back of your car really help you get away from someone who's chasing.
This is something I would like to assist you in. And so you're going to equip a car with those three components?
That's actually part one. And part two, I think Jamie and I will then come up with our own ideas and chase each other through an abandoned town and try and evade each other.
And will you film that, or is that just for fun? That's just a weekend for you and Jamie. Yeah. I'm sorry, darling, I can't come up. I'm chasing him through the woods. I'm here with Mr. Adam Savage. He's part of the Mythbusters team. It's a program you can watch on the Discovery Channel. It's on the Discovery Channel in the United States of America, and also over here it's on the Wednesdays at 9, I believe. And in the current episode, or the one which is on, it's also is it on Mondays or Wednesdays here? Because I've got it written down.
On Mondays at 9 here.
Mondays at 9 here. Must be Wednesdays in the States, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, it's written down Wednesdays. I'll cross that out and put down Mondays. Oh dear. Mondays at 9. You can watch it Mondays at 9 here on the Discovery Channel if you have that. And in the current one, the new episode, you're doing something in the kitchen. You're looking at fires and dangerous situations in the kitchen. Is this right?
Yes, kitchen catastrophes. The myth that we'd heard was that if you pour 1 cup of water on a grease fire on your stove, it can create a 10-meter fireball.
Well, I've heard this.
And we found that it's absolutely true.
Wow.
Totally true. We burned up 3 separate test kitchens.
How much fun is that?
Crazy fun.
But these weren't in, like, kitchen showrooms. I mean,
No.
You didn't just
the first
go in
one was
and
outside a fire department training facility. The
so
second
you
one
knew
was,
you were covered there then. That's pretty good, yeah.
Then the second one was inside. We decided to break it down to the smallest parts. How much water, what is the relationship between water and oil that creates the ideal grease fire? And even with things like thimblefuls of water on 2 teaspoons of flaming oil can create something that's,
so a big fireball shoots up. Why is that? What happens? What's the relationship between the two?
What happens is
materials?
that the oil, the water hits the oil and immediately flashes to steam, and it does so slightly explosively, which vaporizes the oil, which then catches on fire. So you create a kind of a flammable gas ball.
That's incredible. Let's go home and try that. Not you, if you're listening. Obviously, you mustn't unless you're near a fire testing station like Adam was. But there must be the temptation. Do you hear stories of people saying, well, so-and-so tried this? Or, I mean, how do you guard against that?
Well, absolutely. The firemen were fascinated by what we were doing, and they were telling us that they do trainings about this, and they've seen terrible horror stories. We finished it off by taking a can of consommé and throwing it in 5 gallons of oil that was on fire already.
This was for lunch, was it?
And it vaporized. It exploded, and it shattered the cast iron stove we had it sitting on and created a fireball, I think, about 20 meters high.
No one has more fun than you. He made a fireball from a can of soup. But it must be so much fun knowing you're going to go in. But of course, you have to be safe, and I suppose there's always the risk of someone. Has anyone ever been damaged or injured while filming a Mythbuster?
The worst injuries we've had is from moving safety equipment around. We have these bulletproof shields which weigh, I don't know, about 90 kilos each, and they're impossible to move around, and we've had 2 broken fingers from them. Oh. But luckily, aside from 50-odd stitches in my hands, Jamie and I have remained relatively unscathed.
Just the 50 stitches?
How
have you had 50 stitches in your hands?
Well, they're all in the left hand because I'm always holding the tool in the right hand.
So, what are you doing with your left hand, right hand?
Everything.
Whacking stuff.
Honestly, 50 stitches isn't that much.
Sounds like a lot from where I'm sitting. This is over 7 years, I guess.
Time.
Yeah. So it's a few every year. Okay, we're going to play some more music, and then we're back after this. And I really want to know about the whole thing about movies. We were talking about this, and we promised people we'd go into this about in films when you see cars explode, they go over cliffs. And I know you've tested this fairly extensively. Before we do that, where do you get the cars from? Though? Are these bought by the show? Are these given to you by manufacturers?
Actually, I think I posted onto Twitter when we wanted cars and asked if anyone had cars, and we had 12 people offer to donate us cars, and 3 of them were close enough, 3 or 4 of them, and they were all donated by fans of the show. They were all running, too.
Yeah, you're going to get people going on Twitter now claiming to be you and picking up cars with bad fake beards on, going, yeah, I look a bit different when I'm not on TV, yeah.